Shalom, all praise to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, double lines the Apostle GMS. This is Amnava Allah coming at you another video. Now in this script video, I want to focus on the book of 2 Timothy chapter 3 verse 14. Now there's a lot I could read here, but I'm going to start at verse 13. I'm going to start in verse 14. You know about being assured and who you learn the scriptures from. You know, because that's a very important thing. You know, when we come into this truth, you know, we've all had to have teachers. Like, look at that real fast. This is the book of Romans, chapter 12, verse 14. And the scripture says, "How then shall they call on whom they have not believed?" So you can't call on someone if you don't believe him. So how can you call upon the Most High if you don't believe in the Most High? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? Right, how can you believe on someone who have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? So guess what? So it goes to calling on someone that you've not believed, then believing on someone you've not heard, then it goes to hearing without a preacher. So you have to have a preacher in order for you to hear. Okay? That way you can believe. You have to have a preacher to teach you the Most High. That way you can hear the Most High. So you could believe on the Most High. And now you will call upon the Most High. Okay? Which will allow you to call upon him. So the point there is, okay, we keep reading. It says, "And how should the preacher said they be sent? And how should that all be done by the preacher? Unless that preacher is sent by who? The Most High." That's why the scriptures tell you, Amos 3 and 7, "Surely the Most High will do nothing, but he revealed his secrets to his servants the prophets." So it says, "And how shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things." Okay? So, that's self-explanatory. You know, because they was back in the ancient world, you know, they was travel different places, walking to different towns, you know, on foot. They walk in different towns, and they would teach the people. So that's what it says, how beautiful are the feet of them, because they would travel from place to place teaching the gospel. But the point I want to get to is hearing without a preacher. You need a preacher. You need somebody to teach you. Right? So let's go back. So we're back here in 2 Corinthians 3 and 13. And what I was saying before I got to that verse was, we've all been taught, but we got to be assured in who taught us. Because you're going to have people that's going to come into this thing, and they're going to start teaching their own doctrines, seeking to draw away disciples after themselves. You know, they weren't assured of who taught them. And they started to think that they were greater than what they really were. So let's get into these scriptures. 2 Timothy 3 and 13. "But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived." So evil men and seducers. Look at that word seducers. Maybe that word seducers has some sort of significance, a greater significance in the Greek. That's possible. Let's see.
Strong's G 1114. Guys.
A wailer, a howler, a juggler, enchanter, because incantation used to be uttered in a kind of howl, a deceiver, impostor. So a seducer, it says possibly the false teacher for the practice magical arts. So ultimately, when we talk about a seducer, it's talking about like an enchanter, okay, an impostor. So he says a wizard. It says primarily denotes a wailer, to wail. Hence from the howl in which spells were enchanted, a wizard, sorcerer, enchanter, and hence a cheater, a juggler, cheat, impostor. So ultimately, a seducer is a person that's seeking to deceive you, like a person who uses incantations and they use lying wonders to deceive the people. Well, that's those seducers. Okay, they use lying wonders to deceive the hearts of the simple, to lead them astray. Well, that's those seducers. They're dealing with those, it's like seducing spirits. But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse. So they're going to get worse and worse over time. They was bad at this point, but then guess what? They're going to get even worse. And then it was bad at that point. They're going to get even worse than that. deceiving and being deceived. So they're going to be deceiving people, but at the same time, they're going to be deceiving themselves. Get something on that. This is the book of Job 12 and 16. With him is strength and wisdom. The deceived and the deceiver are his. So those who are being deceived and those who are doing the deceiving, they're both his, meaning they're both the Most High. So the Most High is controlling both sides. So guess what? The Most High may be using you to deceive someone, but at the same time, the Most High is allowing you to deceive someone. And he's allowing that person to be deceived by you. Okay? And it says they're going to be deceiving. In the last verse we read, it says they're going to be deceiving and being deceived. So guess what? They're going to be deceived as well. Why? Because they're going to believe that they're greater than what they really are. Let's get a scripture on that. Proverbs 26 and 12. Seest thou man wise in his own conceit? That word there, conceit, means pride. So he's wise in his own eyes. He's reading the scriptures and he's coming up with his own interpretations. He's reading the scriptures and he's coming up with his own breakdowns. That's a person that's wise in their own conceit. There is more hope of a fool than him. So there's more hope for a fool than a person like that. Why? Because a person that's wise in their own conceit, got to work conceit. Ayan. I, physical I, showing mental qualities. A mental spiritual faculty doesn't really give us much there. Let's go to Google. It's the word conceit from Oxford Languages. Excessive pride in oneself. So that's the person that's wise in their own conceit. So let's go back. So it says, seest thou a man wise in his own conceit, or seest thou a man that's wise in his own eyes? That's why we were looking at that word. It meant, I said I am, meaning I, right? The person that's wise in their own eyes, or excessive pride in their own eyes, or excessive pride in their own self. There's more hope of a fool than him. Why? Because a fool could be taught. At one time we were all fools until we received the light of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding from Yahweh Shem Yahushua through what men that taught us, our apostles, the apostles GMS. So a fool could learn. Don't the scriptures say, even when a fool shut up his mouth, he's esteemed wise? Because you perceive that that person is listening, though they may be a fool. Okay? So when you first come into this thing, you like a fool. You don't know anything. You're simple. But a person that's wise in their own conceit, the reason why there's more hope of a fool than of him, because the person that's wise in their own conceit, they're prideful. And since they're prideful, they don't believe that they can be taught. They don't believe they got to take heed to advice. They don't believe they got to take heed to counsel. And they believe that they can do what they choose. But a person that's a fool is more likely willing to learn, more likely willing to be taught. Now the scripture do say fools hate wisdom and instruction, but those are the fools that's not meant to get it. But that's the point on that. This is back in 2 Timothy 3:14. But continue thou in the things which thou hast learned. So even in the midst of those evil men and seducers waxing worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived, you're still supposed to continue in the things that we learned. Still supposed to keep going. We're still supposed to keep pushing. Okay? That word continue.
Strong's G 3306. Meno.
Meno. To remain, abide. So simple, self-explanatory. We got to remain in the things that we learn. And it says, has been assured of.
Strong's G 4104. Pistao.
Pistao. Okay? To make faithful, render trustworthy, to make firm, establish, to be firmly persuaded of, to be assured of. So we got to continue in the things that thou hast learned. And being assured, meaning render trustworthy or firmly persuaded of, right? Has learned, but continuing that in the things that thou hast learned has been assured of, knowing of whom thou hast learned them. In other words, when we are assured of something, we are trustworthy. Things that thou have learned and has been assured of, or things that thou hast what? That thou hast trusted. and to be firmly persuaded of. So those people that went on to teach other doctrines, they weren't firmly persuaded. They weren't fully persuaded in their own mind. No one of whom thou hast learned them. So we got to know whom I learned them. And we know our apostles. Our apostles, they diligent. So we know that these are men that, that the Most High is working with. Because you got guys teaching Esau can make it, and Esau's not the white man, and all kinds of madness. But I'm going to stop it there. So that was a short lesson. So with that, I'm going to say, all praise to Yahweh Shemel Shah, double line to Apostle GMS. I was about to learn something, Shalom.